You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends, since you couldn't be on the phone and the internet at the same time, now guides on your nostalgic tour of Disney history, one magical film at a time. I'm JB Waggoner.
And I'm Eddie Ferguson. And on today's episode, we dive deeper than mankind has ever gone before as we review 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
So fasten that safety restraint and pull up on the yellow strap. It's time to open the vault.
Cue that Disney sound effect.
Okay, Eddie, let's dive right in. Let's do this. 20,000
How many
leagues.
nautical puns are we going to make this episode?
I can think of the word of sonar, and I can't figure out how to get that into this.
JB, just
let me send a pulse.
Dip your toe. Just dip your toe in the water. Oh, there goes Walt.
That lasted no time at all. Eddie's Lego Walt is now a part of our crew. Right? Oh goodness. Okay. So 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This feels like a movie you would have watched a lot. Am I right or am I wrong on that? Growing up,
this was my first viewing ever.
Whoa.
Somehow
even I've seen this before.
Somehow I've missed this movie. My wife had the exact same reaction. She grew up watching it and she's like, "What? You've never seen this before?" And I'm like, "I swear, I have never seen this movie." There's definitely like sequences that, I've seen in this, that, or the other, but like, no, start to finish, this was the first time.
Very intriguing. So this is Disney's second full live action film, right? Is that that's correct?
Yeah.
So up until this point,
kind of I think this is technically like their first where it's just live action, nothing else. They would somewhat consider like Song of the South as a live action, foray, but this is the first time that it's all, live action feature film.
We just did Treasure Island though.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is their second one. Yep. You're right. This is the second one. So Treasure Island's the first. No, this was their first. I know this is what I messed. This is their first film that they distributed all on their own with the Buena Vista Productions. That's what I was confusing.
So they launched Buena Vista Pictures to be their distribution arm. Is that correct?
That's correct. And this is the first one that they produced and distributed all on their own.
Ooh, interesting. So we've got 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is based off of the Jules Verne book of the same title, which came out actually quite a ways ago, 1869. Just like some of the other stories we've heard about, it started off originally as a magazine serial, just some short stories that he then adapted into the book. He's also well known for, he's a French author and he's well known for Around the World in 80 Days, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Both of them also as well have had multiple film adaptations of his novels, but he's made over 60 novels in his really prolific writer, but just tons and tons of great stories, and especially these three ones that are super famous, that has had multiple adaptations. I'm thinking even right now of like The Rock version. I think there was multiple movies that he did
for Journey to the Center.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
And there are Will Ferrell version as well.
I wouldn't doubt that there is. There's a Jackie Chan version. That's the one that we reviewed.
That's Around the World in 80 Days.
Yes, we have a previous review of that. That was a 2000s movie, I believe, that came out. So you can listen to our review there. But man, Eddie, I'm still shook that this is your first time watching this. I don't know what to do with my hands right now.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. And I'm sad because I loved this movie. I was hooked. and the whole time going, yeah, how did I miss this one? I mean, I love like the Jules Verne kind of classics, science fiction adventure novel. I think, I mean, that what he's known for. I think, that's what he made, so well famous and is so prolific at it. So I can't believe that I missed this one.
He is also somewhat called the godfather of steampunk. So you get some of those vibes just from the ship, even though it's like post steam. It's funny. It's like this world is set in like a new, they figured out this new propellant system, a perpetual motion system, I think is where they were kind of going with it. And even when he like gets out the giant uniform to like mask to like look into the deep of the ship to see it for what it's worth. It's
atomic, right? Like in the movie, they make it feel like it's a primitive nuclear generator or something like that, where it's definitely got some nuclear vibes to it. The explosion at the end is like not full on like nuclear mushroom cloud, but okay.
There's
we
definitely
get what you're trying to say.
Definitely some mushroom cloud vibes, like very, very evident from this. And then it made me wonder, did they set off a mini nuclear bomb for this, for the explosion of it at the end? Sorry, spoiler alert, but you've had a couple years, 70 years to watch this film.
Well, I'm glad I didn't listen to this podcast beforehand because it would have been spoiled for me.
Yeah.
I'm still can't believe that I missed this one. And it's quite I think I was struck is how well this movie executed the overall storyline, like from production design to even like some of the actors, like there's definitely some cheesy 50s acting that kind of happens in here that's like, common to the time and whatnot. But like James Mason, who plays Captain Nemo, like there's some great performances in here. This is, really, really well done. But then you think about the special effects and the way things are done here and the time period that it's done in, like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they actually filming with actors on the bottom floor of the ocean. I think they filmed a lot of that in the Bahamas. That's really, it added that realism to it. I especially loved all the farming stuff that they were doing when they would like cut the seaweed and then let it float up into a net that was like kind of grabbing it. By far the funniest was when they're like walking the sea turtles or something. They're like holding on to their.
I couldn't figure out what were they doing with them.
I don't know if PETA was around at this time. There was something odd, strange about them, like holding and like it was like they were waltzing with the turtles or something, but they were just going forward. I couldn't really tell.
Well, I thought that are they leading the sea turtles to the slaughter? Like,
these cows, like sea cows.
Yeah. You're like, aren't those endangered species? I don't know. I thought I saw a Disney nature film about those or something.
Yeah. So, but it was cool seeing them like go to the bottom floor of the ocean. It's like all very practical. A lot of the stuff they could have tried to do normally, but then there's something very intriguing about when they come into the ship and then they're looking out and they're seeing a burial procession, like the death of somebody important. And they're watching all of these people down on the ocean floor, which is why the boat has stopped right there. That it just like draws you in, like, what is going on in here? There's so much intrigue to so many elements of this.
Yeah, I had no, I had like no expectations. I didn't have any inclination of like, how does the storyline go? So I feel like it starts really well where you, it opens with the kind of the eerie green thing coming at. And then, you're on shore and you're hearing legends of a sea monster and different people standing up in the town square kind of telling tales or whatever. Which I have to say in that moment, had my favorite line of the movie, and I think a line that I'm going to use with you for quite some time. When the one guy's like, the police come, it's the guy who's like, I saw the monster, and he was da 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 da, and then the police are coming and everything. He turns and they're like trying to run out of there, and he turns and he looks at his buddy and he goes, come on, let's go. This is no place for a clergyman's son.
That's
I'm
funny.
like, I need to use that with JB.
This is no place for a clergyman's son.
This is no place for a clergyman's son. Yeah, so I mean, it builds the intrigue. You know, you're going, okay, what is this? What's going on? Then the professor comes into the picture. The U.S. government, of course, it's U.S. government who institutes this, this expedition, and they're going to figure out what this sea monster is. I'm like, yes, it's a government, conspiracy right up from the top. Let's do this.
They want to capture the monster and train it, I'm sure. That would have been in the 2000s version of it.
So then you get, the boarding and everything, like just the pacing and the build, and it's like this slow reveal and everything is just really well done. Really well done, where it just kind of pulls you into the story a lot.
Kirk Douglas steals a bunch of scenes in this movie, even though he's not like necessarily the lead actor, but he kind of takes over at the end. Like the professor, who is kind of he's supposed to be our main protagonist that we're following through. He's supposed to be the guy that is supposed to, but he like gets taken and swindled like into just all the intent of Captain Nemo, and he's just like gone near the end of this. He's not even like a factor in almost any of this. He goes willingly into his cabin to die, and it's Kirk Douglas character Ned who really like saves the day, saves everybody. He's got plenty of blunders along the way. He's the typical side character. I'd say like a light version of what Han Solo is, like the side character that you just kind of love because he's a rapscallion or whatever. Pirate. He's got his songs and stuff like that. But by the end, he's really is what saves them from like just being like drowned at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, and I mean, he's by far, he has top billing. He's the most well-known actor in this movie. So it makes a lot of sense. I also love the professor's apprentice. Just got a lot of like Igor's vibes.
Yes.
Come, professor. It's just like he should be dragging one of his legs behind him the whole time.
I couldn't remember. The only thing that came to my mind thinking about the way that he delivered those lines, Igor is a much better representation. I was thinking of when the genie in Aladdin is like telling him, I can't bring people back from the dead. It won't be a pretty picture. Like that voice that he uses for him. Very iconic lines. But even let's just talk about like Captain Nemo for a little bit. Especially for me, he's just so intense all the time, this entire time. And it makes me wonder if he did like some really horrible things and why he was like trying to be thrown in jail or something. Cause he is just so he's like Ahab from Moby Dick, intense, like that level. And especially when he like drives the ship through the Nautilus through the ships, and it's like an intent. I don't even know what the right word, like when it goes super close up on his face as he's like giving a part of his soul or something every time he runs into another ships and destroys them. It's like it's like otherworldly.
It's intense. But I think he delivers the best performance in the whole film. Like and it's James Mason. Was a really great actor, a really well-known actor. I think he's got 3 Academy Award nominations under his belt. He's in a lot. This isn't the only Jules Verne movie that he did. He also a few years later was in a version of Journey to the Center of the Earth. He's it's eerie, right? I think that's what a part of the intrigue in all of this is. Like, you start off with an intrigue over what is the monster, what is the ship, what is going on, and then it quickly shifts to this more of an intrigue about what are his intentions and
what's his plan?
What is his plan? Is it, and even as you, and then I think, I don't know, to a certain extent, like, you kind of ride along with the professor a little bit and kind of feel some empathy for him, and then you get a little creeped out of like, no, but like the way he goes about this is quite crazy and deranged, and you definitely have a bit of a ride as you follow his character along.
The dinner sequence definitely left me very unnerved. All of the different food items as he's just like gently saying, yeah, it's this. But the one that got me was the saute of unborn octopus. I was like, nope. I'm done. Like, I would have left a long time ago, but it's just some of the foods and stuff that they had. But that's just like his character of just like very straightforward, saying, this isn't what you think it is. It's not lamb. It's sauteed of unborn octopus. It's very culture. This dude is like an aristocrat that lives on the bottom of the floor.
Wall. Like, yeah. Well, and okay, then let's just get to like, what is the most eerie thing of all is the giant pipe organ in the middle of the ship, and he's playing Bach in the center, you know, I mean, it's like, whoa, like, and you pick like one of the most eerie, you know, pieces of all. Yeah, like, and that whole sequence as you hear him like playing the pipe organ, it is like you see, I don't know, you can see where so many other characters they borrow from Captain Nemo. Like, I'm coming to this late, right? So I'm kind of maybe seeing it in reverse, but you realize like, no, like the source material is much older. So like, of course, Davy Jones, even from the Pirates movies, I am like, oh, this is very, they borrowed deeply from Captain Nemo in order to kind of pull this off. But yeah, and I think what's also interesting is I think I've always thought of the anti-hero as a little more of a modern concept, like you see in some of more of the modern films and TV shows.
Breaking Bad is one,
this, I didn't realize like such a huge popular movie had an anti-hero at its core and at its center. And I think that's really interesting considering, you know, this is 1954. This feels a little more, you know, nuanced than the most films that you would have seen at this time.
Yeah, a story all the way back to 1869.
Sure, but I mean, this is a Disney movie. Like, Disney
put out this. Yeah, you're right.
An anti-hero.
A lot of vibes of Phantom of the Opera. So that was 1909 when Phantom of the Opera was published in Paris again. That's a French story. I mean, it can't be a coincidence that those like that unless the pipe organ isn't a part of the original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but that, I mean, so many vibes of that, just as like creepiness from him.
Yeah.
One of the lines that I really liked in here was when he said, "I am not a civilized man." It's just like, no, you're the most civilized man I've ever seen, especially under the sea. But then he went
smoking his seaweed cigars.
Seaweed cigars. That was a nice touch. I like that. And they didn't have to. You didn't have to like open it up, show him making it. It's like, I believe it. I believe that those are
sure. That. No, I'll take your word for it. I don't need to see it. I'm good.
I said it earlier, and I'm like, did he do something? Like, he had to have done, like, he did. Maybe I just missed that in the story. But he did something because he got sent to this community to, or like, I don't know, like as a slave at one point by the British government. He hates the British government and he barely gets away from them. And then they're chasing him at the end. Like because he says like, under the sea is the only place where I am truly free. This is the only independence. Here I am free. I'm like, he did something, right? What do you think he did?
I'm gonna go with he unearthed a government conspiracy, and instead of letting the light, the truth come to the light of day, they sent him off to a prison camp.
I had to, right? And then they send him to a camp that is illegal or something. They thought that they're like mining all of like basically dynamite.
Where does he get the knowledge to do these things?
They don't tell us.
Like, so that's where in my mind I'm going, oh, this is the secret that he unearthed, is how to do all of these things. And they found out that he found out, so they ship him off, but he escapes and finds a place to build it for himself. Because otherwise, like, where did he come up with all of this? How did he?
Well, Eddie, he's just a genius. He's just a genius.
Well, this is true.
So he can do whatever he wants to. We don't need that. We don't need that like actual understanding in here. What are we talking about? Another line I like was Kirk Douglas. I'd give anything to shake hands with a tree again. And then he does the most. The one thing we all knew was going to happen. He goes into the land. He goes into the place where they tell him not to go, and then the cannibals come after him, and they fly. I feel. And how did you enjoy the electricity shocking?
Yes,
shocking all the native people that are like on the boat.
I'm like, how can I, what other real life practical applications can we apply that? It's a handy thing to have.
You're just talking about like with kids, like just like give them a little shock. Is
electrical shock my kids. No, I wasn't thinking like that of necessarily. No, I mean, that's another moment where you see Nemo where you're kind of going, what is he up to? Because he just so willingly lets them in. Like, what's happening? And then that whole thing kind of goes down. I'm surprised we didn't get a we're sorry for our past message at the beginning of this movie because of that.
Because of the cannibals?
Yeah, that just seems like, Disney has to apologize for everything. For everything.
Let's apologize to the cannibals. I guess they
should have.
Yeah, I don't know if if there's anything worth apologizing there. So we've gone this far, and we have an animal attack that we've gone this far without even mentioning the giant squid that comes after them. It's the most epic moment of the entire thing.
Yeah, and I mean, probably what this won 2 Academy Awards. I think this is worth mentioning here. And for art direction and special effects. And it does stand out. Like, there are some like really incredible art direction, as you mentioned, with the whole kind of like precursor to steampunk and everything. What I find interesting is they filmed that whole sequence, but they set it in dawn and without a storm. And they're like, no, it's not intense enough. So they refilmed the whole thing and made it at twilight and in the midst of a storm, which definitely makes this, that much more intense.
It's like $200,000 that they had to redo, that they added to the budget to redo that entire scene.
To do that. Which is a lot of money. Nowadays that would be several millions of dollars to be able to do that. And it makes the movie, right? Like it's definitely one of, if not the standout sequence in the whole film. And it's both cool and let's admit it's a little cheesy. Like it's obviously like a rubber squid arm flopping around, and then the beak, is just so like,
oh, that beak. It was still freaky.
It's still freaky. Yes. Any squid beak thing just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. And so to see it like in a giant form, as robotic as it was, I just have to keep doing the hand motion. I don't know why. I just
clapping it back and forth. But it's like as Captain
necessary.
Nemo is like being dragged closer and closer and closer, like it was getting intense. Like I was feeling it even though all the tentacles and everything thing that kind of felt, like we said, a little campy, a little silly, but I think the addition of the rain and the wind, I think it played really well, especially for that time period. Like I can see why this would have won some awards for that, and it also added to why this is one of the most expensive films ever, like that had been made up until that time. I don't think it was
at the time.
I don't think it was the most expensive film, but it was $9 million, a good chunk more than they're spending $2 or $3 million on a lot of these animated films. So this was a big jump for them, not only into doing more and more live action films, but also just in the amount of money they're spending to make these films. This is a big jump for Disney. Do you know, Eddie, if this was like a box office hit for them? Did people like this? Do you have any kind of anything from what the reviews were at the time?
It was a huge success at the box office. They made over what was the number? It's about like $28 million at the box office.
Wow.
So you
That's
think
crazy.
off of I mean, I saw 5 million. What number did you say? About 9?
About 9 million.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it more than tripled its returns, which I think is
That's
really
crazy.
good. I mean, all reviews are, huge. I mean, it's got a 90% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes in its aggregate. So I mean, it was a critical success. It was a box office success, and then like I had mentioned previously, it got 2 Academy Awards. So I mean, it even from an awards standpoint was quite successful. I think the other thing is, this is the film that really broadened what people's perception of Disney was. It was with this film that they really went, oh, Disney is more than just
Kid
cartoons.
Films. Yeah.
Yeah. And really, really broadened that and opened that up a lot more. This is also like you get John Hench and Harper Goff, 2 kind of key, like if you know behind the scenes of Disney, these are the 2 guys that were at the helm of the art direction of this film and they are Disney legends, literally, figuratively. But then also, the creation of this film and the special effects that they do on this film really lays the groundwork for what's to come with the parks. It's those, it's John Hench that is like Walt's right-hand man and like mapping out and figuring out and structuring what the park is going to like, doing a lot of the early drawings. Harper Goff as well is in all of those kind of design. They move on and become the first Imagineers. They're all in the kind of the first class of Imagineers. And it's the things that they learned, that they started learning here with 20,000 Leagues and the special effects and things that they can pull off for film, that they begin to realize, hey, we can duplicate this in a real life setting and create, attractions around it.
Interesting.
So this film is a key moment in the history of the Disney company, not just because it's successful, it's a great movie, it gets really well recognized, but it's really kind of this spark of idea in Walt and those around him and his close team of going, we can do more with this. We can create, more off of this.
Interesting.
Remember those names of John Hench and Harper Goff. Like if you go and listen to the Imagineering story in the weeks to come, as we look at a lot of the TV specials that cover the opening of Disneyland, I think that they're mentioned or referenced multiple times as they as they kind of go on from here to help create Disneyland and the parks.
Anything in this movie that you wish that they did better? I know for me, some of the miniatures under the water of the ship floating, especially near the end, as they're like getting out of, and he's like kind of like he's been shot and he's like drunk driving the boat. My son was like he's gonna wreck everything, and he's like, why is he doing that? Why is he so bad at driving? I'm like, because he got shot. He's hurt. He can't really drive it very straight. But then some of the stuff he's like, you can super tell that it's a miniature, as it's just like bonking and running into stuff. But
I wanted to know a little bit more of the crew. Like, to me, that kind of just seemed like such a weird part of all this. Like, the crew just almost mindlessly follows.
It's like mind control or something.
Nemo. Yeah, like there's just an element with that where I'm just kind of, something's off here. Like, especially at the very end where he's just like, I've been shot. I'm going to die, but you all just need to die too. You know, it's just kind of like,
and they're so willing to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, it seemed unmotivated. It didn't make sense. I wish, if nothing else, just give me a little bit of their backstory to understand why that was, you know, why they were so willing to do that.
The professor, he definitely doesn't end very strong in this. He kind of just becomes, he's like, he knows that.
Oh my gosh.
You okay?
Like a giant thing flying in my office. Oh my goodness. What is that?
Eddie's getting attacked by, he's getting attacked by a bug.
Enormous beetle. See how huge this thing is. I'm so sorry, but like it is. Well, he's upside down, so he's going to slowly die, but look how ginormous this beetle is that just flew in at me. Can you see that?
The giant cicada?
No, it's like a flying beetle thing. I don't know.
Step on it.
I'm not in shoes.
Do you have something heavy? You have a cup behind you.
Something heavy. Our intern from Nicaragua, we were trying to kill this ginormous spider one night, and he goes, dude, I know I'm from Nicaragua, but living here is like living in Jumanji. Well, so what I'm afraid of is I'm going to whack it and then give it a chance to flip back under. It's a beetle, so laying on its back will eventually kill it.
Eddie, why are you not wearing shoes? You're going to catch a cold.
This is true. I will also catch a cold.
Just going to let it sit there?
Well, what else am I going to do?
Go get a shoe and stomp on it.
I don't want to squish it and get its guts all over the place.
Okay, well, that's going to be our fourth member of the podcast today. We've got Lego Walt, and then we've also got the beetle. I'm just going
to keep looking down at the floor like.
This is going to be a great video.
Did you not see this thing come in?
No, I just saw you freak out.
It flew straight into my back and then flew up, and that's why I freaked out.
Okay, well, now that we've solved all of the crazy bug issues that Eddie has filming on location in Costa Rica. Oh gosh. Yeah, the professor for me, he's definitely part of this that I was kind of a letdown. I was expecting more from him, and by the end, he's just a lapdog going along with everything. He's making a half-hearted attempt to try to sway him. By the end, he's just kind of cowering in his own little world, and Douglas has to take over.
He's the passive observer, right? He's a narrator, which makes sense of okay, you're a scientist, whatever. But I wanted a little bit more engagement and a little bit more from him.
Even Conceal is doing good. Even his lackey, he's doing more.
And that's,
anybody.
yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like I enjoy the arc of the assistant, apprentice, whatever you want to call him, more than maybe anybody else. Like, Nemo's by far the most intriguing and interesting, but all the three characters start and end more or less the same. The lackey, like, you see him come into his own more and more throughout the whole film, and it's definitely interesting, you know, and he's got a couple of really funny moments.
Ned has a heroic arc to him too, when he saves Nemo and how he gets them out in the end.
Yeah. I guess I didn't see though like a change in him in the end. Like, even afterwards, he's like, I don't know why I even saved you. Let me just go get drunk off of formaldehyde or whatever. Like, you're drinking preserving. Yeah. Well, it's like preserving so alcohol, gross. Right? Like, so that has to be from some form of formaldehyde.
Yeah. If you had to, would you? I know that you love animals, Eddie. You love your pets. Would you make
just not beetles, obviously.
Not beetles. Would you make would you enjoy having a sea lion for a pet?
I want to know if that's in the original story. There's no way that's in the Jules
Disney
Verne
special.
Novel.
That
has to be a Disney edition, and it makes it maybe more kid friendly. It makes it a little bit more fun. Yeah, it's gotta be. It's goofy at times, but it works. It's okay. I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. Any other final words before we rate this thing?
Well, I think this is that time in the episode where we go to the parks.
Yes, let's go to the parks.
But before we go to the parks, hold on. Before we do that, have you seen the? There is a remake of this in the form. So it has gone through. It's worth the Wikipedia dive if you do choose to do such Wikipedia diving. It went through several iterations. So many different people tried, and like Disney greenlit it, paused it. All right, now this actor's attached, this not. Like a good 15 years worth of all of this. Ultimately deciding on what else? A Disney Plus series. Yay. Because, you know, Disney just doesn't waste enough money on all of that. So they produce film. They are done with a series called Nautilus, where it's a 10-part series on it. And guess what? They decided at the last minute, no, never mind. We don't want to release this on Disney Plus. And they shelve it.
What? So it's sitting.
But AMC, like the TV channel, bought it. They decided, oh no, we want it. So they bought it. So sometime here in 2024, we're actually going to get what was supposed to be a Disney Plus series, but will now be an AMC series called Nautilus, which is apparently like the origin story of Nemo.
Ooh, that's intriguing.
So could be intriguing, and especially seeing that like that was what we were talking about, like where did he come from, what did he do, how did he get this knowledge? Maybe this will answer that. Who knows?
On the parks, though, I have a feeling, if I remember correctly, this is a bigger deal internationally. Maybe. Yes. No?
Yes, you are right. Well, so. This is the film that kicks off the idea of like, hey, we could do this. Like we have the potential of pulling off theme parks, right? So I think that's a big overarching thing that we can't lose sight of. We'll cover more. But yeah, Disneyland and Disney World both had a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine voyage or some long title like that. I'm pretty sure as a very young kid, I have very faint memories of going on this ride at Walt Disney World.
Was this the precursor to the Finding Nemo?
So yes, so Walt Disney World paved over its lagoon and has now created like a whole new like Fantasyland expansion. Disneyland has kept their subs, but it is now rethemed after Finding Nemo.
That's a funny little nod. I enjoy that.
You see what they did there? And so yes, that is one of the original rides, but just kind of rethemed now to Nemo, which we've ridden together.
That's true. We have.
This is true.
On one of our epic Disney trips.
Claustrophobic little subs there, where you're going.
Was that when you had Poison Ivy, or was that when we were with your now wife,
Sarah? I want to say it was with the first time.
The first time,
not make it sound like when I had with Poison Ivy. I had a little poison ivy.
You were like
on my
losing
hand.
your mind a little bit. You were very up. It was spreading.
I have been sent to the ER twice because of poison ivy. You cannot hold this against me. But your wife did give me the secret to no longer having to go. Who knew? It was frankincense. Anywho, we digress. So yes, that is still somewhat existent. A little new one is about to come out. Disney is releasing a new cruise ship called the Disney Treasure, and it's going to have a whole bar themed around this film, which is pretty cool. I think that's neat that they're like doing something brand new about this. But that being said, the thing that is most represented in all of this is there is Tokyo Disney Sea, which those who have gone to it, i.e. the many YouTube vloggers, say this is the best theme park in the world. Not just best Disney theme park, but the best Disney, the best theme park in the world. It's in Tokyo, of course, but like we have Disneyland, their second park is actually called Disney Sea. You see what they did there? Mm-hmm. And at the center is this volcano. It's all Jules Verne themed in the center. And so there's Nautilus submarines right there in the center of it. The ride inside the volcano is actually a Journey to the Center of the Earth ride, but still kind of all within the same vein. So you've got, the big volcano and everything represented there right in the center of Tokyo Disney Sea. Have you never seen any videos or anything of like a walkthrough with Disney Sea? Okay.
I think the version that I saw was it was raining the day that the YouTubers were going through the park, and it was perfect because of all the water themes and everything like that. You're not making it easier for me, Eddie. My son really wants to go to Tokyo to go to Mario Nintendo World, and this is making it a little harder for me to not want to join him. And it's like, yes, we need to go. We're going to fly all the way across the world to then go to Disney and Universal parks.
Well, I might, in our news section, we'll bring up another special news thing that may make that trip a little bit shorter for you, but we can go to Tokyo just to go to Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea, but I don't think you need to go to Universal over there.
Yeah. So are we ready? Ready to rate this?
Yeah, I think so.
You're going to make me go first as you figure out.
No, I'll go. I've thought about this. I almost put it up to a 5 essential. Like that's how much I enjoyed this movie. And like also just kind of like how important it is, but like letting the emotions settle in a little bit. I think I'm going to go for a 4. I'm going to say classic.
Classic is the word that I want to use for it. It's like it's right there. Because it feels exactly like the filmmaking of that time period. But they did a good job of keeping the drama, keeping the suspense, the what in the world is going on in this weird world with this weird, entertaining, almost psychotic Captain Nemo. He really is what holds this thing all together and keeps you progressing and you're never allowed to be completely at ease throughout this entire thing. I don't think it's a perfect film. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever seen, but that word classic, it just rings true to, like when you watch some of the Disney movies, the animated films, they feel timeless. Like they're like, they've always been around. But when you're watching live action, and especially this film, just feels like, oh, I feel like I'm in the 50s right now, like as they're making these films. And so that's why I don't know if it's all the way 4 out of 5 for me, but I like the word classic. So I'm going to stick with classic. This is classic Disney filmmaking.
That's a really good description of that. Yeah.
Well,
maybe we should rename the 5 Timeless. I like what you did there.
Ooh, Timeless. Essential is really good because it means like you can't watch.
You can't miss this.
You can't miss this if you're going to talk about Disney films. This is in that list. Like you have to watch this. So I still like it, but Timeless is also, maybe it's 4.5, 5B. Maybe it's 5B, but anyways, now that
you are all filled up on nostalgia, we have a bit of Disney news for y'all.
Yep. So this coming week I think it's this week, is going to be Disney's next earnings call. And is it? No. Yes. It's like the quarterly earnings call, not the big.
Oh, yes. The vote isn't until April, but yeah, I think you're right. I think there is an earnings call coming up.
So next week, we probably should have some more information for you guys from how that goes. What are investors feeling about the Disney company at large? But the big thing is it's starting to ramp up for their annual shareholders meeting, and specifically, again, Nelson Peltz and Tryon are trying to force their way in to get seats on the board, and they've got their proxy vote coming up. And Disney decided to not just sit and wait for them to see how it would all shake out. They came out with their own video, swinging is a great word for this, because they used the character Ludwig Von Drake and created a video on this votedisney.com website. I don't know how long they've had that, explaining to their shareholders how to vote the right way. And then they just explicitly say, vote for our people. Do not vote for Tryon or Blackwell people. Like, this is how to vote.
Rip up and throw away the ballots that you need to vote on to get them in. Just rip them up. Only use this colored ballot that we
white ballots
approve. It's like, whoa.
So I know very little about how these proceedings are supposed to go, but it seems really strong for them to say, do not vote for these people who are trying to get on the board, only vote for our people. It also feels kind of like, not helpless, but it feels like they're like pushing the agenda, that this is what they want to have happen. But at the same time, they're still beholden to the shareholders to do what they hope that they're going to do. And we just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and then further down on the website, you've got like, what are the experts saying? And it's like, here's some guy from Yale, in a magazine going, clearly having Peltz on your board seems to be more value destructive than value additive.
Yale School of Management.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got a Yale professor. Okay. It's like, well, you're really scared almost of getting, one of these guys on there. Like, why? Like, this almost seems, very desperate.
I love all their things. Positioning streaming for growth and profitability. Reinvigorating Disney's film studios. Fortifying ESPN for the future, as they're also kind of quasi trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Turbocharging
Disney parks. Turbocharging.
Yeah. And then they've got
and I love reinvigorating Disney Film Studios, and you've got a picture of a director directing an episode of The Mandalorian. Like, it's not even from Disney Studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. It's Disney Plus. That's so funny. So yeah, that was funny, and I was just like, we gotta at least mention that they are showing their cards here. I don't know. They're gearing up for April when the shareholder meeting is going to be, as well as we're a little interested to see how investors feel that the last few rounds of Iger changes, or just I guess end of last year, beginning of this year, how it's been going and what they see coming ahead.
Also, Disney got a pretty big legal blow. They sued the governor of Florida in trying to kind of get things turned around and different things like that. And at least the first judge that saw the case dismissed their case. Was
this about Reedy Creek?
It's about Reedy Creek. It's about everything going on in Florida, like trying to say they were pretty much just trying to say like they were being treated unconstitutionally by the state of Florida, particularly the governor, and the judge just didn't even rule. He just dismissed the case. He's like, you haven't provided enough grounds to substantiate a case at all, and so he just dismissed it. Now, of course, that gets appealed, and that like moves up the whole circuit of stuff, of course, which is interesting. But yeah, at least in the first round, Disney lost on that one. So, and in another, Disney, we'll see how they weather this one. This past week, Universal released their big announcement video for their third theme park in Orlando called Epic Universe. JB, have you seen this video?
Oh yeah, because we have been planning since we've heard about
Mario World,
Nintendo World coming to Florida,
which will be the biggest. The what's being leaked is they are creating a Donkey Kong roller coaster that actually jumps tracks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We were also really excited to see that this has a Ministry of Magic land for Harry Potter.
The third one. So they've got Harry Potter in all three of their parks.
3. So you can go to Hogsmeade, Diagon Alley, and the Ministry of Magic. I was also excited for the How to Train Your Dragon land, like the Isle of Berk. Love those movies. Again, soundtrack nerd over here. Listen to the soundtrack for that all the time. The Dark Universe looks really sweet with kind of like the monsters.
Monster World, yep.
Yeah, that looks really sweet. And then just like the whole center area is pretty, dare I say, epic. You know, like it just looks awesome, like what they're putting together. I love the chairman guy as he's like announcement. He has the great line of like, in this area, we're putting the park back in theme park. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Well, good for you, man. Good that you can spell park.
But it's impressive. And I think that's where like the question everybody, like after they go ooh and ah after it all, everybody just kind of goes, how's Disney going to respond to this?
Are they going to have something like, at D23 to kind of like combat them a little bit?
Yeah, because they've known this has been coming for a while and they've done nothing. Like if you really wanted to have something ready at the moment of this release, like that time's over. Like you even if you broke ground on something today.
Well, they got Tron, Eddie. They got Tron.
It took them 6 years to build Tron, and it was a clone. Like that's what everybody complains about. Is like it took you forever. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna answer that whatsoever. So hopefully later on this year we get all these great announcements and everything. I'm not holding my breath. No. I think they're still in denial, but yeah. And I think that's what's fascinating and somewhat frustrating is you're going, wow, Disney, you got to listen up. Like Universal with Mario Land and the How to Train Your Dragon Land, that makes both you and I, who are diehard Disney people, go, ooh, that's where I want to take my boys.
Well, we've had Mario Nintendo World circled for at least 2 years now. When we first heard about it, told my son about it, and then he knows for sure. Like if he were on the show right now, say, hey buddy, when does Mario Nintendo World open? 2025. We're going in 2025. Like he is already dead set on it, even though if it's like late in 2025 and we might not be able to get in that amount of time. I've been trying to swindle him to think maybe 2026 when you turn 10 and it can be a special, but it's been a hard sell so far. But at least now we know where it's going to be. You can kind of start to see what's going to be involved at it. It's much bigger than the Hollywood Studios one. Been thinking about going to that one, but that one's pretty small. Just a few of the things, like one ride and a few of the fun things. But Tokyo, man, it's got some of the best Disney parks. It's got they've got all the Nintendo World stuff. But that was one thing.
But this one in Orlando, I think it's supposed to have more rides than even the Tokyo version.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I don't think they have the Donkey Kong ride.
They do.
Oh, they do have the Donkey Kong ride.
Or they are in the process of it's almost done. It's going to be. It's supposed to launch in the spring, but yeah, that's where I saw the whole jumping tracks thing, which looks super cool. But anyways, Eddie, this is your moment to give us your entire Percy Jackson series.
Did you watch any
result.
of Percy Jackson?
No, I didn't. Should I cue it on tonight while I'm editing this episode?
I mean, I would encourage you to. So here's what I appreciated about. I think so many people, as streaming services just kind of ramped up and went crazy, we got this idea that like series on streaming should be like mini movies. Yeah. And they just couldn't keep at that level. Yeah. And so as like they couldn't hit that and it just kind of got bad and was like, oh, like you're not a good movie. You're also not a good TV show. What I have to say about Percy Jackson is like, they aimed to be a really great TV show. Like, I think if this would have premiered on ABC in the early 2000s, we would have been like losing our minds.
Like Lost?
Yeah. From like a production level, from, the different guest actors and stuff that they get on it and everything. Like, we really enjoyed this. Like, it was something like every week we found the time to be able to sit down and watch the episode that came out. So I would really recommend it. It's gotten a lot of buzz. It's already been approved for a second season, so it's going to keep on going. So I think hopefully maybe Disney Plus kind of found something here where it's like, hey, let's not go crazy. Let's actually make TV shows for our streaming services and see if that works for us.
Cool.
And in some ways, I think like Mandalorian kind of started off that way and then got maybe too big for its britches and tried to stretch too far. But it's pretty cool.
You've sold me. I might
definitely
try to watch
better than Miss Marvel. So if I sat down and watched Miss Marvel for you,
for me,
you should, for you,
or just for me,
you should watch some Percy Jackson.
I'll see if my wife is going to be into that. But okay, before we go, Eddie, I hope you and the family have a good week.
We shall. We have 4 more bags to go through our Lego set.
Sweet.
A very special person in our life gifted, what's my son Lewis keeps claiming my Lego. He was calling it, when are we going to do my Lego? And I got down to his level eye to eye and I said, Uncle JB gave this to me. This is Daddy's Lego. and And then he's like, but can it go on my Lego shelf? And I was like, no, it goes on my Lego shelf.
I love this. I love your very this is a parenting moment here. Let me set my kid on the straight and narrow.
So I'm like, but I will let you, we will build this together. We will do one bag a night for the whole week. And so now he's like very careful to be like, Daddy, when are we going to do your
Lego?
I may be obsessing, and I'm not understating that, over the Lego multi-plane camera with the 3 panels of the old Mill short, like one of the first multi-plane shorts that they did when they tested it. Totally geeking out over this. So much so, like, Sarah didn't see it the other night when we built it. And like right before I hopped on here tonight, I was like, wait, Sarah, you have to see this. Here, hold it up to the light. Hold it up to the light. Do you see? She's like, that is pretty cool. That is pretty sweet.
It is a cool set.
It's so cool.
I'll probably be getting one pretty soon here, but I saw that and I was like, and I think you'd even mentioned like you and your nephew wanted to get it. And I was just
I had looked at it multiple times. Yes. And so the fact that you picked up on that and gifted it.
We had ESPN for that.
Was a moving. I didn't cry, which is a big deal. I held it in because there was a group
disappointed.
Of people around me.
I was trying to make you cry, so.
You would make a grown man cry over a Lego set. Let's just say it that way.
Oh yeah.
So that is what the rest of our week will look like. More updates next week, maybe even a full picture, more than just Lego Walt here, who's been sitting on my microphone this whole episode. And as I pointed out to JB, has 2 faces. We've got smirking
Business.
Mustache Walt, and then we've got smiling welcome to Disneyland Walt.
The 2 Walts.
The 2 Walts. So with that, you have got a weekly dose of Disney nostalgia.
Be sure to subscribe to Honey, We Made a Disney podcast wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts, and give us a look on YouTube as well.
And while you're there, please like or leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see all of our nostalgic reviews of Disney movies.
Tune in next week as we review the TV special, The Disneyland Story.
Thank you for listening, and remember, the greatest treasures of all lie in a sound mind and a full belly.